one thing that kind of really concerns me is the whole question is, are we really headed for nuclear problems if we allow the test borehole? And the DOE, as Ed said, they're quite adept. I'm sure they have very good lawyers. And they tell you what they want you to know. But maybe what they don't tell you in writing is more important. And one of the things that I've seen in their literature was that they say this is just to see if nuclear waste can be put in this test borehole site. And I can understand that. And they say there will be no nuclear waste put in that hole. But being of the mindset I am, if I really am going to believe them, why didn't they just simply say, instead of there not being nuclear waste at this test borehole site, they would have said there will be absolutely no nuclear waste within 50, 100, 200 miles of this. That is not said. The unsaid sometimes is more important than what is said. Back in January of last year, the Secretary of Energy, and I'll read this, put out a little document by the Nuclear Waste Technical Review Board, it says. And this board was supposedly to evaluate all types of ways of disposing of the waste, because obviously the real problem is there's literally thousands of tons of waste, nuclear waste. They don't know what to do with, where to go with it. And so one of the things they said, boreholes are an earlier pathway for disposal of some waste that might be possible in a mined repository, particularly where the nuclear waste are too large for a borehole repository. In other words, a pathway for deep borehole field test is to field siting. That's what they're trying to do now. And this has been discussed for some time, whether it's at Yucca Mountain or deep borehole test or whatever. But in 2009, in this same document, they talk about the possibility of deep borehole designs and sealing. Their summary result is it's untested. There's no testing of it. So whatever happens, as Ed said, you've got to have consent from the community so that if and when something goes wrong, you've already consented. My common sense is maybe what I worry most about here, in that they want to go down 16,400 feet into granite and then hopefully slide canisters of nuclear material down that hole, seal it, and walk away. And as Ed said, these canisters aren't designed to last the length of time the nuclear energy is going to last. The canisters, we don't know, might last 50 years, who knows? The seals might last 50 years, maybe 100. But by their own record, it says right here, they expect this to last something, the nuclear waste radioactivity would last something just short of 1,000 years. So if this canister is dropped into a hole that is already over boiling point, 200 and some degrees, and it produces 1.2 million BTU, that sucker's hot. And it's not going to quit being hot for a long time, particularly if you put it in another hot spot. So if and when there is a catastrophe, if it's after the time that the capsule has already disintegrated, then there's no place for this to go except through a crack in the granite, or come shooting up through what was the original hole into your water, or straight out the top, or all of those things. I don't think any of them be very good. I did look up in Google, and it said at Chernobyl, the evacuation area was 20 miles around there. So good luck, Logan. Welcome to the scene. You get to go with the rest of us. I happen to be next door. So that would be kind of it. As Ed mentioned, this has been proposed a number of places throughout the United States. We don't know how many because we're not informed. The DOE says these contractors are supposed to be transparent and honest and trustworthy, but we have a hard time getting any of that information, to be right frank. But I do have a copy of part of the minutes at the North Dakota site that they were trying to get this project put into. And I thought it would be kind of good to just read a few of the comments that the North Dakotians said about this, because I bet they fit right in with your ideas. One of the people there said, "We have no guarantee that nuclear waste, if you put the borehole site in here, in other words, and then you go on the next step and you start putting nuclear waste in there, that it won't just keep going. In other words, you drill the borehole, give it time, sooner or later, someone from the government, if it's usable all, say, you already spent 80 or 100 million here on this hole. I like the results, and here you go. It might be 20 or 30 years. We might not be here, but our kids and grandkids will be. So that's a big concern to me, that we don't have any control over this. It's just going to happen. If you allow that test borehole site to take place, the odds of nuclear is pretty high. One reason I feel that is, this is my 9th meeting, by the way. I've been to every one of them. And at Nara Visa, I asked ENERCON, I said, what are the standards for the granite? For anything to do with this test borehole, give me some kind of standards that will fail or pass. Give me some hard facts. And they wouldn't do it. In other words, whatever the result is, you probably passed. Here's another comment, very similar to what I said. You tell me you're going to spend $80 million, then you're going to cover up the hole and never come back. There's a lot of farmers, ranchers, school teachers, and business people in this room find that pretty hard to believe. We worry about the economy and how it grows. This person was asking that very question and said, if someone is going to come to our community, whether he's a doctor, an entrepreneur, do you think when they Google Rugby, North Dakota, and find out that it's a nuclear site, they're going to really move here? Don't think so. I think that's what will happen with Logan also, Nara Visa, all of the area. It's going to be really very difficult. Even the proposal of a test borehole site is going to greatly affect your economy. And that is going to be really difficult because your banker, he might all of a sudden get a little bit itchy too. By the way, I'm getting ready to go refinance my operating income, and all of a sudden I can't get the bank to go with me. That might not be real good. I do have one thing that last night we had a meeting in Dalhart that finally I agreed with Mr. Eccles and the ENERCON group. And I asked him, I said, has anyone considered that at some point if you put nuclear waste down a borehole and it does start leaking, how are you going to repair it? And his answer was real simple: you don't. So that's kind of the area I'm at. I agree with him for once. We don't. I was probably one of the first ones to write a letter after the first Nara Visa meeting to the DOE protesting this. And at the end of that letter, I ended it by saying, please understand that in our area, we have a lot of sunshine and plenty of wind. So I would very much welcome your help, but in a project that promotes wind and solar energy to this area by helping us put in a transmission line. Instead of spending 30, 40, 50, 100 million on a nuclear waste dump, I would much rather see the money spent on a transmission line. That would be environmentally friendly then. We could dismantle it if we saw a problem. But more importantly, we all would have a chance to enjoy income from it and would be very strong for our economy. Then you would see me, and I think our whole area, very much with a different attitude toward the DOE, not against this project like I am today. And I thank you for your time. If you want to verify some of what Ed told you about the participants in this, if you look at the pink sheets over here on this wall, it will list each of the potential partners for the DOE in these drilling experiments, as they call them. And I copied off their home webpage. And it will show you that they are, a big number of them, 3 out of 4 of them, nuclear companies. You don't go hire a nuclear company if you don't need nuclear people. Thank you.